have from a game like that can't be, oh, we could have won, we should have won, we fumbled, we're not going to get that chance again. It really has to be, we could have beaten them.
Yeah. And it also, like, what I'd like to see is the mindset of, oh, well, that was a really difficult draft to play into. Now, if we draft a little bit better, then we're definitely going to win.
There you go.
Know what I'm saying? I think that might be a good way to do it.
They showed they're capable of beating them. I think that's the main takeaways, and we'll see what they're able to do this time. You know, and I think Perfect as well, that's someone who, you know, we had some concerns about coming into this matchup against Keen. Yes, it's a favorable matchup, but even the lane didn't end up super favorably because of how the swap played out and how the dive ended up happening, and he really showed up. So I'm hoping he continues to have a good series, and we get a bit of a redemption arc for him.
See whether it does happen already. The Varus, as far as the PVV, has been taken away. I think Pantheon going to be going very, very soon as well. The Renekton being removed here is a kind of interesting one. We saw Clear kind of pop off on the Renekton yesterday. Renekton has been sort of coming up to the forefront. There is that Pantheon that we were expecting. I'm thinking that Rumble's priority is going to be climbing up there, as of course Keen and Perfect are both fantastic at the champion. Sion and Ornn then become things to talk about as well. The Trundle has to be a part of that conversation. Azir and Taliyah, both of them haven't been looked at here in these bans thus far.
Yeah, they were both banned out last time. And Trundle also available, which was banned out last time. So Jace's going to be taken away. So a lot of top lane bans, really trying to set up Perfect, I feel like, to be in a comfortable position, interestingly enough. But as you said, that Taliyah, Azir, both available.
And Gen.G can force a first pick here if they ban away one of them. Otherwise, KT might have the opportunity to just take one of either the Taliyah or the Azir. As you can see, Gen.G do decide to give the Taliyah, not necessarily risk the Azir situation, which I think is respectable.
A lot of respect given to BDD's Azir, but his Taliyah is also pretty comfortable.
Yep.
So we'll see if he opts to pick that up, but instead going towards the Trundle, prioritizing that.
An interesting first pick here.
We have seen the first pick Trundle rise a little bit in priority. Obviously shuts down tanks a decent amount, but also a lot of these AD picks that we see in the jungle does well into them. Although Wukong and Xin Zhao obviously already taken off the cards.
It is an interesting one as well, because I feel like it sets you up for either a Rumble or a Sion pick. Because the Rumble then cannot be countered by something like an Ornn that we've seen picked into it many times, because the Trundle really does like having those big tanks towards the top side of the map. And so I think that it is a decent way to start off this draft here for KT, depending on what happens afterwards. There is the rise for Chovy as Canyon at least flashing the Lee Sin for a moment. Let's see whether that is going to be the decided pickup here into the Trundle.
I feel like Canyon definitely has a lot of options you can go towards in the jungle that don't necessarily play into what the Trundle wants to do.
This makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, Vi open and available. Obviously, when you do dive in, Trundle can do a decent job of pillaring off the backup and just kind of shredding your resistances. Even though you're not a full tank, can still make you a vulnerable target. But I think Vi is still able to do what Vi wants to do when she dives in. Doesn't have the backup of like a Kai'Sa though, or a Galio, which we've seen taken away already because of Fearless. And now for KT to show what else they want to do, I feel like the Rumble makes a lot of sense in this situation. Although looks like instead going towards the Yorick. And you know what? With context, that Renekton ban makes a lot more sense, because I seem to remember a certain Yorick vs Renekton matchup that we got in the road to MSI, where Doran did some pretty brutal things with the Renekton into, I believe it was Perfect's Yorick.
Yeah. So he's not going to be shoveling his own grave this time around against the Renekton. It is instead going to be against something else. The Taliyah came in. That was no surprise here, as I believe Chovy was ready for that one as well. Had already locked in the Rise. I think expecting something like this to be opted into, as Ambessa can be a difficult matchup into the Yorick, but it does form a pretty terrifying core here, and a lot of damage represented already by Gen.G, although not a lot of range. So the Taliyah might be able to have a good time in this game.
I think this is insane Taliyah Trundle value. I think the Ambessa kind of makes sense in the Yorick. The fact you can dash outside of his what would we call it? Ghoulie Wall?
Ghoulie Wall, yep.
Ghoulie Wall.
That's the official name.
And also, you're not really going to take a tank into Trundle and the Yorick as well, but I think the Taliyah Trundle, just the zone control they have, is a ton of value. And the Poppy ban, Poppy with this composition would just be ungodly, I feel, so that makes a ton of sense as well. Gen.G denying that. Rakan going to get banned away. I think Alistair probably going to be the next ban from KT. Go on top of that. I feel like even Gen.G, maybe like a I mean, a center ban honestly wouldn't be bad here. We've seen the center priority kind of fall off, but I feel like it works with his composition to try and maintain the distance.
A Xayah ban wouldn't be too bad either, just because it is decent into the Vi, gives you a bit of safety, but instead it will be the Lucian.
Yeah, seeing the Lucian priority be pretty high. Lucian form in particular is going to be the Alistar, to no real surprise. It'd be interesting to see what Gen.G up for here. Jhin definitely an option with a bit more range. Could go for the Corki as well.
I think Corki is probably sitting pretty high on the priority list right now. As you can see, Helper and Ruler getting into exactly what they want to do here. Could, of course, lock away a support if they'd like to, but I believe it is 80 carry that's being considered for the moment. As the center will be the decision. Gives you a little bit of extra scaling power in this composition. They will be able to lock that one away.
They go for the center themselves. I feel like we saw a lot of success on the center at EWC, but when we came back to the LCK, sort of have some struggles, but still a pick, a lot of range, a lot of success there. And we're seeing the Ziggs response come out. Ziggs, Leona, really strong lane duo. A lot of setup, a lot of burst potential. And also, if you're playing a composition that wants to maintain your distance, maintain your range, Ziggs really powerful. Obviously, Senna has like a decent amount of sustain, but you're so squishy. And Ziggs is so good at playing into squishies now with how much damage he got in his most recent buff. Do you see Duro go for the Bard, which isn't a traditional sort of engage support, but I think when you think of how KT's composition wants to play, if you want to close distance, I think Bard actually does a better job of doing that than most other engage supports, because just charging at this composition seems like a nightmare.
Yep.
Throwing the Tempered Fate on top might actually make a lot more progress than if you just to run at them.
You can also Tempered Fate your own team to avoid Mega Inferno Bomb damage.
It is
which would be pretty funny. Never seen it before, don't even know whether it would necessarily be a good idea. However, it is something that could occur in this game because there isn't necessarily a lot of consistent damage for the KT roster with the Ziggs now there. Although Ziggs does do just a lot of damage and the Q does have a relatively short cooldown. Doctum was one of our Ziggs players back in the day, although he hasn't been doing it more recently. As yes, of course, BDD is a bit of a Digimon fan. So we are seeing some of the best fan signs, and once again, these all come out when Wolf isn't on the caster desk. That's basically how it's supposed to work.
Yep.
He is watching from somewhere, and we'll just have to see whether he has anything to say about it. I'll make sure that I try and report in on what Wolf is going to say.
And he has the correct Ziggs skin as well.
Oh, he does. Pool Party Ziggs is the only Ziggs skin that I think exists in my mind. When I see the Arcanist one, it just makes me really sad.
So true.
Yeah, it's just not great. Let's get onto the riff. Game 1, Game 2.
시간사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
Did you see that? I'd already pushed Game 1 out of my mind so far that I thought that it was Game 1 again.
There you go.
That's the mindset of a
Good
true
strategy.
KT fan. We are very, very good at forgetting the evidence of the bad times that had just previously happened so that we can smile once more. That's how it goes.
Honestly, the more I think about it, the more I kind of like this KT composition, because there are some pitfalls that normally would be an issue. So one is they are quite heavy AP, but because they have the Trundle, there's no real tank on the side of Gen.G who's going to stack that much MR. The only concern maybe is the Ambessa, but the Trundle is going to help limit that. It's also the fact that it's going to be so difficult because other than the Senna, it's quite a short-range composition, and you're dealing with the mines from the Ziggs and like the Unraveled Earth. It's so hard to walk up.
Yeah.
You know, the pillar, there's so much like terrain to deal with when you're moving up, and I think a lot of champions on the side of Gen.G are really going to struggle with that. And also because of the Trundle, meaning that like they've opted out of having, you know, a traditional tank. The changes to Ziggs were a buff to his AP ratios. And prior to that, he had kind of low AP ratios. There was a lot more emphasis on just building things like Leandries, like Void Staff.
Yep.
Now you build a lot more AP, and you're a lot better at blowing up squishies. And so this is, you know, a squishier composition. And I think it is a good amount of Ziggs value here, so...
I would agree. And like you say, I mean, I think we're expecting Ziggs to be very high priority on this patch. Haven't necessarily seen it so far. We've seen smatterings of Ziggs, but not too much more. And I do have a report from Wolf. He says, tell everyone that I say Agumon embodies BDD, and it's perfect. And that he says hi. Hi, Wolf. Get some high wolves in chat, please. There he is. By the way, someone also asks me where my bald head is that I promised, and someone really needs to tell them that that was like 4 years ago. And have they been in a coma?
Maybe. If so, congratulations on the recovery.
Thank you. Oh wait, no, them recovering. I thought you were talking about me recovering from baldness.
I'm applying it to both.
Both of them is definitely effective. That's a nice size shove there as VDD throws a big old rock at Chovy. Still, it's a lot of health traded in both directions, and the minion waves have been eradicated. So we're just going to trade some backs. Not too much more is going to occur.
Those are the trades you'd like to see, and I feel like I keep looking up at the top of the screen, and I'm like, yeah, it's 1-0 to Gen.G, right, it is, yeah. Yeah, it is actually.
Is that a bug?
No.
Yeah,
I feel like anyone who did just either they missed game 1 or they've just woken up from a coma.
Or they went to the bathroom.
Yeah, they went to the bathroom. You know, a lot of... Game 1 really could have been KT's, but it is 1-0 to Gen.G, but a close one, very close one, up until the last moments. And now Gen.G looking to find their way back into it. Oh, Chovy takes a heavy trade.
Yeah, really nice shove as the Q is going to miss there as well. BDD wanting to get this Q out as the flash to follow Chovy, but needs another one and does not get it. As both of them, now with their flashes on cooldown, it's now a time for Cuz and Canyon to get involved. As BDD will shove this wave in. And here is Cuz making his way forward. Chovy pretty susceptible, but Canyon's going to move in as well. Cuz just says, I am ready to chomp.
I think unfortunately BDD did everything right there until the moment he flashed.
Yeah.
Because maybe if it flashed a little bit earlier, would have got more of the damage down on him. But I think if he'd just taken the flash, would have been in a phenomenal position, having taken that advantage. But it's so hard when you're in that position, when you have the pressure against Chovy, not to look for the solo kill. But I think if he just been the summoner, it would have been a phenomenal spot for the lane to be in. By the way, BDD doing a great job in the lane so far.
Whoa! We are flashing in, says Peter. The water balloon is not going to connect, and so Peter just going to have to utilize that Eclipse. This skin is pretty epic, by the way, this Leona skin. I'm a bit of a fan.
Some of you may think, well, he banned Flash for Cleanse, which is a lower cooldown.
No, he activates Hex Flash.
He activated Hex Flash.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I feel like with Hex Flash against a cleanseless center, there is ways you can set up a play. I think when the cleanse is available for the center, you're just not going to find anything really. But spending a lot of mana for that satchel. Not really sure that was too worth it. But
every time I see a Ziggs open with satchel, I cringe a little.
Yeah, there's sometimes rare moments where it's okay. That moment, not really getting much value from it, but they are going to go for a reset here, and Ziggs is hopefully going to get some more mana back.
Yep, no harm, no foul, and can teleport back to the lane as well if you would like to. And it looks like it is going to be a stick around in the bottom lane type scenario, as Chovy rotating over, getting out of the way of the threaded volley, will be able to throw that Q forward. Doesn't quite hit the mark.
This is one of the awkward points, because you get back to lane with a Lost Chapter, which is great. You now have mana to expend, but Ruler is playing Senna, who obviously has sustain, but also comes back to lane with the Boots of Swiftness.
Oh dear.
And you're playing a champion who's also skill shot, so suddenly becomes a lot harder for you to hit those bouncing bombs.
But the main thing as a Ziggs is to hit the minions and then the turret.
That's true. And you can definitely still do that. And honestly, if we end up in a situation where we swap, it can be pretty phenomenal for the Ziggs just to get some plate time. They did obviously nerf Ziggs plate damage a while ago, well, his tower damage, but he still does a lot of work. And to be honest, as far as tower taking potential goes, KT has a lot of it. You know, Trundle, Doric, and Ziggs. Oh, there you go. That's a good satchel.
That's a gorgeous satchel. Doesn't hit the water balloon, but who cares? That was amazing. All right, Weaver's Wall going to come on over here as Chovy still doesn't have his flash. Peter going to move in as well. Shield of J-Berg comes down, finds the Zenith Blade, but the double charm is so good out of Duro. And by charm, I mean Cosmic Binding, of course.
I think you were charmed by that play.
I was absolutely charmed. I've been enthralled, honestly, by Duro just in general, but this Bard is looking gorgeous as well.
Yeah, I mean, a good attempt from KT, but Chovy just a bit too much health to take down, and the support coming in from Duro to keep him alive. Chovy able to stave that one up, but the pressure's still on. You can see KT making considered efforts, trying to have the pressure advantage. And I think especially when you have two mid laners with the roaming potential, both of them have a lot of wave clear, both of them have these global ultimates to move to the side lanes. I think giving one a pressure advantage can make such a big difference in their ability to move around the map.
Yeah.
And also, we have a lot of tools in this game. Like, both mid laners have these, well, I guess semi-global ultimates, but like both the AD carries as well. Well, I guess the bot laners. Ziggs has his ult, which can assist from a distance. Senna has her ult.
Yep.
I feel like there's going to be a lot of helping hands this game.
Yeah, I feel like 1v1s can turn into not 1v1s very, very quickly.
Yeah, got to factor that in.
Well, let's see how it does go as Chovy down pretty low on health, but yeah, BDD doesn't have a lot of mana. Here's the magical journey from this Bard. Look at that cosmic binding.
Okay, nice 잘 뺐고.
Just, oh, okay. That's the response.
Yeah. And it was such a good portal to get him on the other side of the wall as well.
Yep.
Everything going right there. Great time to be there and assist.
Well, both supports making their way back to this mid lane once again. As BDD with full control of the waves. Zenith Blade does bring them in. Seismic Shove pushes the Bard back. And right as we're singing his praises, things start to go wrong. But the Dawning Shadow trying to keep him alive, and it will work. As Duro able to fight another day while Canyon is taking this dragon, and Kane is grabbing plates on the bottom side. Just feels like Gen.G have more players on the Rift right now.
Yep, getting a lot done there. Able to mitigate that play, able to get the plate, able to get a dragon. Everything going well for Gen.G. We do see KT move and look for the grubs though. And in fairness, I think if they get triple grubs here, they're pretty happy overall.
Yeah, honestly, grubs, very, very good for this composition.
Yeah. But Gen.G responding well, I think, to this mid lane pressure that KT are consistently trying to apply.
So Cuz will be able to finish this one off. It is going to be a Cloud coming up next, so sad for me that there's no Cloud Soul. It could be an Infernal, Mountain, something like that. Could also be another Chemtech, which would be worrying. But this is a Ziggs game, so, I mean, Orcs is going to be paying attention, so we can't really blame him for
I want it to be an Infernal, I really do.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, that would be pretty peak. All right, Gullywall goes down. That's going to block Duro. And cease and desist, and I think Perfect is going to acquiesce. And where have we seen this play before? Yes, it was last game.
I don't think they needed the Rise ult, but, you know, I appreciate that they fully committed to make sure that Perfect was very, very, very dead.
Yes.
Absolutely the most dead he could be.
He was extraordinarily dead. As Doctorm is now just going to fight Kane, and Kane's just going to flash. Of course, Cuz was spotted, I believe, on Vision.
Yep.
And so not going to take any chances, just flashes away.
Now looking for Canyon, but he does control the ward, plays it safe. Has to respect the fact there's a lot of pressure on this top side of the map. Does have Duro moving over.
Yeah, BDD stayed out of vision there as well, just to make sure that they have some sort of surprise factor here as Kane moving back away from this turret for now. Ziggs being parked in the top lane. That does go back to what we were talking about before. But the gold lead that KT had for the majority of the early game has kind of dissipated after that first blood did go down. And the fact that it was Canyon that picked up that money as well, accelerating this buy, can be quite important for Gen.G, especially come mid-game, where they can just choose a target and take him out.
They can. Do get Ziggs recall and picking up the Ludens, which is such a big spike. Getting the swap come in. Double TPs, so 1.5 that tempo to play for. And really, we have a few minutes before the plates go down. I want to see like a considered effort from KT to get either the Yorick or the Ziggs on those towers, getting those plates picked up.
Yeah, bouncing bomb, I believe, took the cannon. We'll
you know
never know.
I'm going to just assume it did, because it hurts to think of the...
Yeah, I don't want to think of the alternative. Just kind of like I am assuming that KT won game one, because I have put out of my mind those last moments where it was pretty heartbreaking. Skeen getting slowed down here. Perfect. Still having a pretty good time, although has lost that CS advantage that he picked up earlier on. Trinity Force still being looked for, and of course there was that extra attention put on Perfect to try and hold down this Yorick. He's still okay. Canyon does manage to finish the Sundered Sky, and Cuz is a little bit further away from it. I believe it has been Cuz that has been veering away from the Trinity Force build. Has been more Sundered Sky into the Spirit Visage that he's liked to go for.
Yeah.
We've seen this a little bit here and there.
I think it's just such a big spike. You know, we've seen Wukong still on the Trinity Force into Sundered Sky, because obviously Trinity Force syncs so well with him, but I feel like Trundle, it's less so about, you know, doing as much damage as you can on those Trinity Force spikes, and more just about getting the healing, you know, and still doing the big chomp on that first hit.
Yep, surviving and being annoying certainly is useful, although I do feel like the spike with the Trinity Force is just kind of massive. but it does depend on how accelerated you get. So I think in a more even game state, makes more sense to go for this one that does give you that little bit more durability as the flash forward into the solar flare here. Zenith Blade will connect. Tempered Fate is going to buy Jiro a little bit of time, but I don't know whether it's going to save him. As never mind, they get over the wall though, and there it is. Dr. Arm hits him with that water balloon, and down goes Brad. Ruler now also taking a fair bit of damage, and man, that Luden spike, you weren't kidding, Ox. That's a lot of damage.
Yeah, the ult didn't even need to connect for him to take him out, but the synergy of the Ziggs and the Leona, great engage from Cheetah. Oh, man.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage.
A lot of confidence gained for Chovy in this match, but now Dr. gets some alone time on the tower with those grubs as well. I don't think he can take the tower right now, but it's going to be pretty close, honestly, if you can get another passive proc in.
Yeah. Does get that short fuse, but isn't going to push his luck.
Yeah, if he gets any more alone time on that heart, it's 45 seconds till the plates are gone. He's not going to get a chance to take it, but it really wouldn't take much for him just to get a bit lower, satchel it, and it go down. But unfortunately, not going to have the window here, and an overstay certainly would have cost him his life, as you see Canyon's position on the map.
Yeah.
So, look, I can't sit here and say I would have made that choice. I would have died there, but I respect it.
Sometimes it's worth it, but maybe this isn't for Chovy as Peter goes in. Chovy actually still with flash, so never mind. He was absolutely fine the whole time. Oh, okay. Well, there is still a turret here as the minefield goes down. Canyon is definitely dead, and Dr. Arm will be taken out by the Dawning Shadow, but I think he's okay with it. Trading that 1-for-1.
Yeah, good chain around there. Unfortunately, wasn't able to get away from the ult from Ruler, so it's a 1-for-1, but Jungler dead.
All right, another kennel goes down here as Cuz just needed to press out on anyone to try and keep himself healthy, and down he will go. Tempered Fate over the wall, just predicting the flash, because doesn't press the button. And KT kind of dropping the ball in that particular moment.
Bit of a disaster to take down the enemy jungler and then lose out on the Dragon. Ruler and Duro just running Cuz down. Unable to get in range of either of them to really get any healing from that Sundered Sky. And yeah, we'll see Canyon able to do most of the damage here.
Look at him just waddling past. It is very cute.
It's a good satchel. But unfortunately, I'm not sure if he had a chance to flash the root there just before the CC ended, maybe, and that would have saved him. But either way, yeah, they kind of just CC Cuz and shred him, and he doesn't get to play the game.
Yep. And he was trying to get to the wall so he could flash, but the Tempered Fate actually gets a flash out from BDD.
I think was pretty scared of Keen coming around.
Yeah.
It's one of those moments where you're like, kind of, do I need the flash? Do I need the flash? And in the moment, you're like, I'm just going to flash. I don't want to risk it.
And I think I respect that.
Kind of feel the regret afterwards. First tower taken by Ziggs, though. Doesn't even need the wave. We'll just launch that satchel in. And both mid and bot tower pretty low, and they're looking to get the Herald, so it could be 2 extra towers to follow pretty shortly after on the back of the Ziggs.
Could be a big one. And with the Rift Herald going down, they're actually going to even things out when it comes to these objectives as well. So feats of strength still on the cards for KT. Even though Gen.G just need to focus on getting this next dragon if they want to take that one down for themselves as well. But that could be where the next fight is. Only 500 gold in it between these two squads. So nothing much at all. And I feel a little bit better for what KT can actually make with this composition later on in the game. It is a little finicky. It is not necessarily like your very standard team fighting composition or anything like that, but they have infinite wave clear and theoretically great split push with this Yorick, as the wall is going to take BDD out of here. And the Mega Cone, because of course it is a Chemtech Soul again. Okay, Keen in so much trouble. The Zenith Blade says that's a dead Ambassador. Chovy now trying to run his way out, and he will be able to do so with the Phase Rush. But still, yeah, Keen, that's not the warm welcome that he wanted.
I was a little concerned because all of KT disengaged, and I thought Perfect was going to be the man left behind, but it was the other way around. Keen falls prey to the trap from BDD. Natalia really not a fun champion for an Ambassador to play into. He just gets decimated as soon as he lands. Good pickup there from KT, good response.
Really well played. And so now, 3-3 is going to be that kill score, still without the feats of strength locked in yet, as BDD does get himself out.
I saw this
double
like,
TPs.
The full disengage, I'm like, oh, they're just leaving Perfect, and then no, the turnaround comes in and they just obliterate the Ambassador. Perfect the one to get a kill as well. He will definitely appreciate that.
Maybe the whole game one where they kind of just left Perfect to die over and over again and stuff like that was all just a bait for that moment.
Maybe.
Managed to get that kill onto Kane. I don't know whether it's worth it if that is indeed what their plan was from the start. But I'd like to think that that's what it was, because at least then there's a reason. Okay, Duro in a whole host of trouble. Mega in front of him. Oh! Okay! Oh, what? Okay, well, Doctor, I guess, can just say goodbye to whoever he'd like.
Yeah, that's Triumph Ziggs.
He's got Shadow Flame. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, he's pumping. He's doing the big boom boom damage. Ziggs Leona will do that. So Doctor just comes down to pick up a free kill with the alley-oop. And now looking for this mid tower.
All right, Chovy in the ghoulie wall as the Maiden getting involved as well. Hextech Minefield comes on through because just going to ride Shelly into that turret. Will be able to take it down. Minute and a half on this Chemtech Dragon. And that would be the first here for KT. Gen.G did manage to lock down the first 2 Drakes.
That's my bad, guys. I'm sorry. I was so enthralled by the Ziggs.
Maybe that's what it was. So maybe you were paying too much attention, but not to the game state, just to the Ziggs.
Yeah. It's hard not to, you know, just especially with the pool party skin.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to blame
moments like this.
So it was like, yeah, 50% of his health bar.
Yeah, I mean, the Leona passive helps as well.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, it will do that boom boom damage. He just picked up the Sork Shoes as well, so a lot of pen with the Loons proc. He is doing a...
So Ruler would be actually just, like, if Ruler is hit by a bouncing bomb and an ult, he is just dead, I think.
Yeah, I mean, they buffed
Okay, well, now he just walks up, takes a turret shot, and maybe the Ziggs isn't even going to hit him as the bouncing bomb is going to go wide, but the Zenith Blade is still going to connect. He places Mega Bomb! And that is a strike if ever I've seen one! As Doctom will be able to lock it down. Oh dear. Yeah, Ruler used basically everything he could, but not the flash. And I don't even know whether getting to the edge of that ulti would have saved his life either.
You know, I was seeing the bouncing bombs miss. I'm like, if any of these hit, it's going to do a ton of damage. And then the read at the end of the magical journey, it's like Duro just set his AD carry up on a platter, and Doctom was ready to take that. 4-1 on the Ziggs now. This has been a great Ziggs game.
Oh, it certainly has. And I was waiting for this, right? Because we haven't necessarily seen the Ziggs takes over the game performance from the champion. Because I think as soon as that happens, people are going to stand up and recognize we're going to start seeing Ziggs bans, because this champion is in a pretty ridiculous spot right now. As down goes the turret. Thus is the way of the Ziggs. Now Gen.G, I don't know whether they're going to be able to fight for this soul point. They do have the opportunity of collecting here, just because there is not a whole lot of vision. This Canyon is waiting in the area. KT are doing their homework, making sure this Vi is not going to find her way into the backline. As teleport actually to come through from BDD, as he will find the knockback there onto Keen. He has to flash to get himself out of the way. Rune Prison is there from Chovy, trying to get some damage down, but Gen.G actually pulling the tempo back of that play beautifully by putting the pressure on this mid turret, and they will be able to get themselves an inroad towards this dragon. Just don't know whether it's necessarily going to allow them to secure it without a fight here. As the Cosmic Binding is so good there from Duro. Peter taking a lot of damage as he does make his way out with that magical journey. Mega Cones to get back to the rest of the team as well. As Canyon makes his way over the wall, is perfect on a flank angle. Ruler taking so much damage, so this Ziggs is a monster, and oh my goodness, that wasn't even the sweet spot, and Ruler is almost dead, but he's not, and gets the piercing darkness out. The Ziggs is still popping off though, as Canyon down so incredibly low, and it is a bloodbath once again in this mid-game as KT take over.
Decimation from KT there. Gen.G not able to challenge the backline, and BDD sliding through the portal to blow them up. Oh, Duro.
Okay, yeah, he is on a magical journey, and he didn't even need to press the button. As there it is, the Mega Cone got to get him out of there. Just barred things, I guess, as KT are on the Otacon. And yeah,
no, I'm excited to see this. He's going through again.
All right, there we go. Seismic Shove gonna miss, and so Duro's out of there. There is an inhibited turret that was taken in the mid lane. That happened as well. As we've got pings onto the Ziggs from his own team. They're like, what the heck is going on? As the ghoulie wall is just gonna trap Keen in here perpetually. And finally, we are going to see this Otacon go down as the Maiden was helping Cuz. Yeah, Perfect's like, yeah, dude, I'm helping you out. It's totally fine. And this time, KT are destroying Gen.G.
Yeah, I mean, what ended up happening, despite being really low on health, so Duro gets zoned off here, Blastcone's back in to be with his team, but look at Peter, ends up going for this engage, and Doctom just ends up doing so much damage, so Chunks Ruler, the ult doesn't even hit with a sweet spot. Look how low he is. Has to ult just to stay alive. And then we just get this constant artillery. He kills off Pete and tries to go in. Canyon ults through the minefield, just basically dies. BDD follows him through the magical
walls
journey.
and then immediately magical journeys. That was like he was playing Mario or something. This is kind of ludicrous.
Yeah, I mean, this has been a pretty crazy game. And, you know, it's mad that we're in this position where KT are bordering on a position where if just the last fight had been different from the previous game.
It's a 2-0.
Yeah, well, let's hope that this game doesn't end in a
It could still be a 2-0, ladies and gentlemen. Don't you worry about that.
But it is right now all about this. If you look at the goal differences between lanes, the biggest lead apart from between the bot laners is Peter has a 600 gold lead over Duro. That is the biggest lead apart from between Doctor and Ruler, where the Ziggs has a 2.5k gold lead over the center.
Yeah.
This basically this entire gold lead is the bot lane.
He has an entire Void Staff over his mid lane.
He's just basically doing true damage to most members of the enemy team. That's like Merc Treads sprinkled around.
Yeah.
And that's basically it.
I do need to ask you now, is this your favorite game of the year so far?
I think it might be.
Okay, well, the public execution onto Perfect here. He's looking to see whether he can keep himself alive, but he can't. As once again, just going to get picked off because with a casual subjugate, but otherwise not too much going to occur. That wasn't my favorite part of this game.
No, definitely
just
not.
watching Perfect pop like a balloon.
Yeah. They can still do that. They can still find a single target and take them out. And this didn't seem particularly difficult, so Perfect made the mistake of existing.
Yeah.
And they pressed the ultimate buttons on him. Multiple of them did, so yeah, he does go down. I feel like there are better people than the Yorick to stand in mid and clear the wave, namely the Ziggs. But either way, Perfect goes down. Won't really be able to translate that into too much, and also did bin his flash, so not a major issue.
Well, Dr. does improve his shoes.
Okay, this does feel he is doing. Yeah, I said he was doing true damage before. He's now doing just the most. Like, okay,
he's doing. It's not even true damage anymore. It's like destiny damage.
Rula has 44 magic resist. I think it's a little bit overkill. I kind of want to see the Rabadons come in sooner rather than later.
What's the upgrade to true damage? If you could do something that was truer, would it be like prophetic damage? Like you're prophesizing, so you're designing the truth instead of just telling it.
You just take damage 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what happened. You know when Duro got one-shot by that ult? That's because of the damage Doctor has now.
Ah, yes.
You know?
It's like, yeah, Doctor was considering killing him in the future, and so he just popped.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's probably how it works. But yeah, this Ziggs is a big deal. If they kill him, though, like you say, all of the money is on the Ziggs. So if they do take him down, then it's a very even fight. And by even, I mean, like, they are massively in the lead because it's 4 versus 5. So still going to have to stay vigilant here. Gold lead hasn't even really crested 2K as it finally does hit that mark. But still, 30 seconds on the Drake. That's going to be a second Chemtech here for KT.
So then mentioned, Chovy is level 16, has had that run of ages come in. Big spike for the right, so he is strong. He is and it's a tricky game for him because he is short range into this composition. But if he manages to get onto top of like BDD or Doctor is unchallenged, he will, in a combo, do a lot of damage to them. So it does need to be respected.
Certainly does. And I do still think the Gen.G's composition in a team fight, like straight up 5v5, still is less awkward to play. I feel like whenever you have a Yorick, it feels a little bit weird when there's no consistent damage. Of course, Ruler is going to be doing a lot more consistent damage than Dr. Who does need to throw
they're
these
going for this.
bouncy bombs around as there it is. Yeah, everyone piling on top of this Baron. It's immediately spotted out there by KT as they need to get their Trundle over here. Peter is clearing out some vision as Perfect can get that Ghoulie wall in to try and stop this. Canyon's out of the pit already, looking for a flank angle as they do peel away. And Perfect does spot out Canyon there with that Morning Mist. As in goes Peter, actually. Mega Inferno Bomb just misses everything entirely. And Peter does have to try and get out of there, but he's not going to be able to. And look at the sad Satchel. Just explodes without doing anything. And Peter's life is for naught.
Yeah, I mean, Gen.G make the right call to peel off immediately. Don't want to be stuck in the Baron pit against this composition. They wait, they bait Peter in, and I think a little bit overcommittal because of the Merc Treads on Duro. The CC chain doesn't last that long. And the Mega Inferno Bomb a little bit overzealous here. Duro playing this one really well, has the portal down so he can buffer the stun. And then they just shred through the Leona, who doesn't really feel that tanky at this point of the game.
Yeah, Keen did take a large portion of his health bar, and I think Ruler hit one little water balloon on the ground and lost a third of his health bar.
Yeah.
That ability was buffed by 50%, by the way, as far as AP ratio is concerned.
Yeah, I will
Isn't that
say, though,
disgusting?
I will say, though, he has gone a bit too hard in the match. He is now going Rabadons, but maybe a little overkill on the Magic Pen.
Yeah, because you kind of still want AP now with,
And he kind of
the way the ratio
overcommitted, I think, a little bit at this point of the game. When
He
he's,
certainly is fun for mid-game damage, though.
but I feel like having a sooner Rabadon is going to make a bigger diff, especially talking about damage on a people like Ruler. But to be fair, once he gets to Rabadons, he's going to do so much damage. Void Staff did just come in for Chovy, though. They are setting up around that dragon.
Yeah, Kennel goes down, Chovy able to walk around it as Perfect is making his way in. 50% health on the Drake. The KT are looking for the fight. Tempered Fate does absolutely nothing, as there is a Drake secured for Gen.G. That is Soul Point available, but can they keep themselves alive and find the team fight? Mega Inferno Bomb onto 3 is gigantic. Flash out from Canyon Keen, now being that Soul front line. And Gen.G just holding them at bay, and the catch onto Perfect is too good! And Gen.G are able to eviscerate him. Now it's Canyon that makes his way forward. It's ambitious, but it's working! Chovy taking a lot of damage, but dishing out way more. It's a double kill as the Ziggs goes down, and out goes BDD as the last man standing.
Once again, KT in control, but they fumble it in a critical team fight. BDD looking for a pick. The flash in!
Oh my goodness, Chovy just getting on top of him here as BDD really wants to thread the volley. That looked a little bit like tilt as he goes down, and the ace is completed for Gen.G.
Baron going to be the reward as well, and now Gen.G going to be firmly in control. They managed to secure the dragon, and KT, they feel like they want more out of this. Their comp, though, is better at maintaining distance, holding strong. They push forwards. Perfect ends up overstepping, though, and they turn onto him. It's a good pick here from Chovy. Gets the CC setup that's followed up on. And now KT on the back foot, they know it's 4v5. This ult that comes in from Canyon, that's beautiful. Lockdown moves away, but then Ruler pushes in from this threat. And as soon as members start falling, KT kind of fall apart. BDD goes for this last-ditch effort pick, but the response from Chovy flashing over the shove. So well played.
That was absolutely crazy from Chovy there, as Duro, big grin on his face. Just feeling like everything is just as it should be. Which, I mean, if I was a Gen.G fan, I would be feeling a little bit nervous in this game, but maybe not so much anymore, as it's now just all of a sudden a 4,000 gold lead, 2.2k already on the Rebel Baron power play. Still 2 minutes and 10 seconds left to go, and as you can see in the gold difference over time, it's just crashed off the KT cliff once again.
Yeah, this just feels like, once again, Gen.G, some fumbles, but they're very good at winning, and KT just being KT. Just consistently the most KT you can ever imagine. it's just they're always KT.
They really are. A bit fiendish as well as BDD, as we can see in the inventory, as in goes Canyon, looks for that backline as they're looking to just execute Doctom, but that's a great satchel still. It's a trade of a buy for a Doctom, and Doctom was so much more important. Ruler is still standing here as Cuz just walking away. Ruler deals with the turret, and Gen.G, I think they have just found their window to take over this game completely.
Gonna be able to push up mid here with the Baron as well. Not really enough wave clear from these two to do much against them. The two melee champions cannot step up against this 4-man from Gen.G. The CC would just mean insta-death. They'll take this mid inhibitor, probably back off after this, but the lead now, we saw so much of this game defined by a 2,000, maybe 3,000 at most gold lead. 8,000 lead for Gen.G at this point.
And like, that was in the span of the Baron, basically. As we're going to go back to this fight here, as Doctom is just caught in the back end. They had to use everything, and Doctom honestly played it pretty well. And unfortunately, just wasn't quite enough, and even Keen survives.
Yeah, you just kind of get, everyone's trying to peel, but they kind of just get mangled, and there's not much you can do there against the Vi, and once the Ambessa hits.
3.6k is the lead of just Chovy in this game. That's an Infinity Edge done here for Ruler as well. 4 items now done. And this Senna, we talk about Senna as like this scaling champ. She's scaled now. 97 stacks as well is a lot of stacks, like a lot. So a range kind of out of control, and 4 items is just going to mean that Ruler will be cutting them in half every time an auto attack comes in. And this sad little needlessly large rod that Dr. has had has been sitting in that inventory for quite some time. I think maybe it's Rabadon's time now, but...
Probably not, it's expensive. He hasn't had a big influx of gold in a while.
No, he's going Zhonya's.
Oh... I get it, because, you know, you don't do damage when you're dead, and you have been kind of focused, but, yeah.
Just doesn't feel like a winning mentality. It feels like a not losing mentality.
Yeah. But also the problem is now Ruler's gotten to the point where he's so strong, he can kind of just... So much of KT's composition has been about maintaining distance and not letting you approach. That equation breaks when Ruler gets to this point of the game, because he can just hit you from a mile away.
Yeah.
So now you're kind of in the position where you have to approach, and that's when Gen.G will just turn it around on you. So I think they might have just missed their strong point of the game. You know, they had a point of power, they were playing through that, and now it's kind of out of the window, and Gen.G looking to secure Soul. I'm not even sure if KT can contest this. They are moving roughly in the direction of it, but I think they're just going to back away.
You might be able to try and throw a Mega Inferno Bomb in if you do manage to cheat some vision of the area, as KT are at least going to be able to slink their way over. And so Peter looking for an engage angle. Zenith Blade does bring him in. It's the Bard that actually locks this one down, as there is Canyon finding his way in. Tempered Fate to allow them to reposition. Canyon survives somehow! And Gen.G with the Chemtech Soul! And they were now able to march into the enemy base, and once again it is just BDD left alive. That was illegal, Canyon. Like, why is he still alive?
Saved by his team, the support's there from Gen.G, and KT not as close as the last one, but 2 games where they were in a winning position, a commanding position, but unable to close it out. Gen.G unrelenting, it feels like, in KT. A lot of hopes, unfortunately, dashed in this series.
Oh, man. And we thought that it was a sad one last time around for KT, but that was sad because it looked like there was no hope. And the problem with this one is it looked like there was hope until it was absolutely gone. Peter goes in once again because he needs to try desperately to do something. PDD does the same thing, but the Nexus is still going to reach the same fate. Gen.G, a 2-0 over KT. That could have just as easily been a 0-2.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the first one, they were so close to winning. This one, a lot more work had to be done.